The rain hadn't stopped since dusk, painting the city in streaks of silver. Noah Reyes stood in the school gymnasium, watching his son Leo beam beside his astronomy poster. Constellations glittered in glow-in-the-dark paint, the boy's 8-year-old voice explaining Orion's belt to a teacher who actually listened. Noah's phone buzzed. Cal. Always Cal. Please, man, his old college buddy begged. Blind date, bistro downtown. I can't make it. Client dinner. Just meet her so I'm not a total no-show. Noah looked at Leo, who was still pointing to the paper stars. He hated leaving, but Cal had been there for him once when the world cracked. Half an hour, Noah muttered. At home, he ditched his. He pulled on a plain shirt and a jacket that smelled faintly of mothballs. No driver, no security. He wanted to blend, to be just another man walking into a restaurant on a rainy night. Inside the bistro, the host smiled. Table for Cal? Noah nodded, unease curling in his chest. In the corner, a young woman sat, rearranging silverware like puzzle pieces. Lila Park. Not the date, just a server covering the floor while her manager slipped out. But fate's wires tangled. Noah slid into the seat, meaning to wait politely. Instead, conversation sparked like flint on steel. She talked about studying at night, working 2 jobs, raising her little brother Max, who had a heart murmur. She laughed about cheap dahlias, showed him how to fold a paper boat from the menu. He told her about Leo, about balancing bedtime with board meetings. He didn't mention he was Halcyon's CEO. For a breath, he was just Noah, someone she thought was a junior analyst with an easy smile. Then lightning cracked. The lights flickered and died. The bistro hushed, candles flaring from phones. Their voices softened in the darkness. I'm late on rent, Lila whispered, surprising herself. I'm tired of pretending I have everything under control, Noah admitted. It was raw, unfiltered, the kind of honesty storms invite. The lights blinked back on. Reality snapped sharp. Noah's phone buzzed with a text from Cal. No pics PLS. As Noah left, he spotted a man at the bar casually angling his phone camera at their table. His instincts, tuned by years of boardroom betrayals, screamed trouble. Still, he folded the little menu boat Lila had made and left his number. Not his real one, but one that could reach him if she wanted. He jogged into the storm, rain soaking him, but a smile tugged at his lips. It felt like sunrise after years of cloud. At home, Leo was awake, tracing a constellation map. On the fridge, their promise list hung. Breathe together. Tell the truth. Keep home safe. Noah tucked his son in, phone buzzing again, this time a news alert. Halcyon CEO cited on mystery date. The photo was grainy, blurred, but the profile was unmistakable. The screen lit again. Cal's voice hissed through the speaker, sharp with panic. Dude, what did you do? That date wasn't random. And just like that, the storm outside felt quieter than the one breaking in. The next morning began with Noah juggling 3 lives at once, father, CEO, and man with a secret. Coffee in one hand, Leo's backpack in the other. He balanced a board presentation on his laptop screen while rushing down the hall of their apartment. Leo trailed behind, scribbling on his homework margins, tongue between his teeth. By the time they reached the school drop-off line, Noah finally noticed the sketch. A small paper boat sketched in blue crayon. For Mom, Leo said simply, not looking up. Noah's throat tightened. The promise list glared back in his memory. Breathe together. Tell the truth. Keep home safe. He kissed the boy's hair, forced a smile, and drove on. At Halcyon headquarters, polished steel and glass reflected a man who didn't feel nearly as put together as the building wanted him to be. The board chair, Victoria Crane, intercepted him before he even reached his office. 10 friendly minutes, she said in that crisp tone that meant anything but friendly. Her office smelled of cold lavender and calculation. She tapped a file on her desk, sliding a printout forward. A blurred photo of Noah at the bistro table, the caption reading, I Cal Morgan seen with mystery brunette. Your friend Cal's nightlife, I assume. Victoria said smoothly, testing him. Noah nodded, once letting the lie hang without words. Not lying, not correcting. Still, the echo of Leo's crayon boat and his own promise, tell the truth, scraped his chest raw. Meanwhile, across town, Lila pulled a double shift at the campus cafe. Steam hissed, milk frothed. Her hands moved automatically while her mind pulsed with worry. Back at her apartment, taped crookedly on the door, was a paper, notice to cure. One missed rent payment from eviction. She touched her wallet, where a grocery receipt sat folded tight. Her late mother's scrawl on the back, promise me you will build a life that can't be bought. Her phone buzzed, a number she didn't recognize. Paperboat guy. Can I see you somewhere quiet? Curiosity won over caution. She agreed. They met at a park where rain still clung to the branches. Noah, jacket collar turned up, looked younger in this damp light. He offered small truths, carefully, selected. I'm a dad. I work in finance. I like talking to you. Lila laughed, shaking her head. You're too earnest to be a player. Then she offered her own shard of truth. My mom used to clean executive offices. Some glass tower that never changed its carpets. Might have been Halcyon. She kept a storage key taped behind a drawer. I still have it. Don't even know what it opens. Noah's breath caught. His board had ghosts, too many of them. He didn't say that part. When they parted, she passed a man in a suit sitting too stiffly on a bench pretending to feed pigeons while his long lens glinted. A false alarm? Maybe. Maybe not. Noah returned to Halcyon, shoulders damp, heart heavy. On his chair lay a sealed envelope, no note, no signature. Inside, a tabloid draft. Halcyon chief, date staffer at firm-owned venue. At the bottom, a scrawled line in Victoria's hand. Contain this. Cliffhanger. The byline was from someone inside his firm. PR walked into Noah's office with the kind of smile that belonged at a funeral. Polite, brittle, already tired. We can kill it, she said carefully. If it's true that it's Cal, not you. Her voice floated like a life preserver she didn't believe in. Noah's stomach tightened. Cal wasn't picking up his phone. No text, no callback, just silence where his friend should have been. Then the email arrived. Anonymous. The subject, line blunt as a hammer. Board will bury you. No attachments, no signature. Just a single embedded photo. Noah's hand on Lila's wrist as a candle flickered, shadows curling around them like they were the only two people in the world. He could feel the trap closing. Victoria wasted no time. She called an emergency. Ethics. Check-in. Her voice a practiced whisper in the halls. Governance. Fiduciary duty. Words meant to sound like prayers but wielded like knives. Across town, the fallout spread in smaller, sharper ways. Lila's cafe manager, suddenly gifted a voucher from a brand partner, pulled her off the register mid-shift. We can't have trouble with investors, he said, not meeting her eyes. At home, her little brother Max coughed through cold air. The clinic rescheduled. Insurance glitch next week. She wrapped him in an extra blanket and tried to steady. Her hands, but rent notices and whispers were louder than comfort. Noah, pacing his glass office, finally broke his own rule. He called Cal until the line clicked open. Cal's laugh was low and careless. Relax, man, I owe money. Investors like a good romance. They see a photo, they'll think you're human, not a machine in a suit. The blind date, Noah pressed. It was meant for you, not a setup. Of course it was meant for me, Cal said, and the slickness in his tone was oil on water, something that caught light, but poisoned underneath. Noah hung up, no clearer than before, but with a choice he couldn't postpone. That evening, he went to Lila's apartment. The eviction notice curled on her doorframe, the ink already bleeding at the edges from damp. He stood there too long. Before knocking, she opened the door wary. I need to tell you the truth, Noah said. I'm not a junior analyst, I'm Halcyon's CEO. The air shifted. Lila's face froze into something unreadable. So I was a story, she said, flatly. No, he started, desperate. The paper boat. That wasn't an act. But she stepped back, eyes hard. Leave. The door clicked shut. Before he could knock again, his phone rang. School nurse. Leo. Your son had an asthma flare. He needs his inhaler. Noah sprinted through the city. Everything. Shares, headlines, boardrooms, collapsing into breath counts and small hands. At the nurse's office, Leo wheezed a thin, "Hey, Dad." Noah knelt, whispered the numbers with him, 1, 2, 3, until the rhythm steadied. His chest burned as he thought of Lila's mother's letter. Build a life that can't be bought. His board didn't understand. They thought everything was currency. Back in his office, his inbox lit with a new subject line, legal hold notice. Someone had filed a concern accusing him of misusing company assets for personal entertainment. The board wasn't whispering anymore. They were sharpening knives. The envelope was waiting like a wound, white, sharp-cornered, slid halfway under Lila's door. She bent, fingers trembling, and pulled it free. No return address, no handwriting. Just a small embossed crane in the corner, a symbol she hadn't seen since she was a girl trailing her mother into glass towers with bleach-scented buckets. She tore it open. One line only printed. Your mother was paid to forget. Don't be like her. Her breath caught. Behind her, Max hovered with his backpack half-zipped, still 10 years old but carrying eyes older than his age. Are we moving again? He asked softly. Lila stuffed the letter into her jacket. Not if I can help it. That night, after Max had gone to bed, she dug into the shoebox at the back of her closet and pulled out the storage key her mother had hidden years ago. Her thumb rubbed the worn metal until she decided. She texted Noah. Not forgiveness, not an olive branch, just leverage. Come if you want to know why your tower smells like bleach. Daylight made the storage facility look harmless. Rows of orange doors, sun glaring on concrete. But her pulse quickened as she slotted the key into the lock. Noah was already there, dressed down, tension pressed into every line of his jaw. The unit creaked open. Inside sat a battered file box, edges softened with age. On top, a faded halcyon badge, her mother's photo, young and exhausted, laminated into permanence. Beside it, a plastic bag holding external drives labeled in neat, desperate ballpoint. Wellness. Northlight. Vendor 404. Lila dug deeper. A grocery receipt, folded until the paper nearly split. Scrawled across the back in her mother's cramped handwriting, "If I go quiet, tell the daughter of the sky the truth." The daughter of the sky? Lila whispered. Noah's stomach twisted. He remembered Victoria Crane, board chair, who had started Halcyon's early wellness programs. Crane, he murmured. It has to mean her. They powered up an old laptop balanced on a stack of paint cans, the drive's word, loading spreadsheets riddled with rot, payments routed through shell nonprofits tied to board family trusts, employee wellness reimbursements, without employee IDs, stipends signed N. Reyes. Noah leaned in. That's my name, he said, but that's not my signature. The font, it's copy-pasted. Metadata proved it, fabricated, backdated, planted in his name. Then a car door slammed. Both froze. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. A man in a windbreaker strolled past, whistling low, eyes scanning units like they were receipts waiting to be filed. Lila snapped the laptop shut. Noah grabbed the file box, slid it behind a sheet of packing blankets. He tucked one drive into Leo's extra hoodie, wrapping evidence in a father's camouflage. The man answered his phone. Unit's empty, he said casually and kept walking. False alarm or a cover? They slipped out through a side gate, heart still pounding. Noah drove them back, jaw tight, every instinct screaming to fix everything at once. But he knew he couldn't. Not yet. He dropped Lila and Max at their door. She didn't thank him, and he didn't expect her to. At home, he slid the hoodie-wrapped drive behind Leo's astronomy poster board, the constellations swallowing secrets. He whispered an apology to the framed photo of his late wife on the shelf. His phone buzzed. A text from Cal. Stop playing hero. Drinks tonight? I'll explain. Attached was a photo of Leo's school, circled in red. The air left Noah's lungs. The boardroom war had just crossed into his son's life. The private bar was the kind of place where leather booths muffled bad deals into sounding civilized. Noah slid into one, every muscle taut. Cal was already there, nursing a bourbon, his grin loose and careless. About time, Cal said, raising his glass. You look like a man who hasn't slept since grad school. Noah didn't return the smile. You sent me a photo of my son's school. Cal waved a hand as if brushing away smoke. Context, man. You need context. You're bored? They're done with you. Victoria's the favorite. This whole romance thing? He tilted his drink. Very useful for them. Noah's jaw tightened. Did you leak the bistro photo? Cal's grin widened, all teeth, no warmth. Don't take it personal. A good story needs a good face. You were convenient. Noah leaned in, fists balled on the table, though he never raised them. You used Lila, you used me. Cal shrugged, almost bored. Step aside gracefully. Take a consulting gig. You'll still make more than most. And custody fights? Expensive. Do you really want Leo's future tangled up in courtrooms? The words struck like knives. Noah stood, chair scraping. He'd walked into the bar with restraint. He left it trembling with fury. Cal tossed a folded napkin onto the table. Before you get noble, here's a tip. Offshore accounts. Northlight Wellness. Ask your CFO why the files smell like charity. Noah didn't pick it up. He didn't need to. He already had a drive hidden at home. Still, the napkin burned in his vision as he walked out. A man at the bar lifted a phone, casually snapping a photo of his exit. Somewhere else in the city, Lila was cornered in her landlord's office. The landlord's cousin, the man in the windbreaker from the storage facility, leaned across the desk. Pretty simple, sweetheart, he said. You hand over that old drive your mom kept and your rent problem disappears. Lila's stomach turned. She stood without a word, heart thundering, and walked out. Outside, her phone buzzed. Max had sent a photo of a man loitering near their building. She called Noah, breath shaky. Stay put, he said, already signaling one of the few drivers he trusted. He'll pick you up. You'll stay at my place tonight. No, Lila said quickly. Not in your world. Not with your cameras. Pride and fear tangled in her throat. Noah didn't push. Then I'll set you up somewhere safe. A motel. Different name. That night, over lukewarm coffee in a dim motel lobby, they spread their scraps of truth across the table. Northlight, Vendor 404. Cal's threats, Lila's mother's badge. They spoke of Zora Kent, the journalist with a spine, someone who had once covered a grievance case tied to Halcyon's custodial staff. She was the only one they could trust. They met her in a cafe, choosing a table by the window. Zora was already waiting, hair tied in a messy knot, eyes sharp. I know your mother's name, she said to Lila before introductions were over. It appeared in a 2009 custodial grievance I covered. They buried it. Lila's chest tightened. Noah slid the drive across. Zora tucked it away, leaving a decoy in its place. This isn't going to be easy, she said. But I'll get it out. When they stepped outside, Noah's phone buzzed. His admin privileges had been frozen. Victoria had called an emergency board session. Before he could process, Lila's phone lit with voicemail. She pressed play, and her mother's voice came through, chopped, stitched, uncanny. Give them back the wellness files and for Max. The line went dead. Lila stood frozen on the sidewalk. Noah staring at her phone, the city's noise suddenly hollow. Someone had just pulled her dead mother's voice from the grave and aimed it at her. The boardroom lights hummed faintly, cold against the tension. Noah sat at the long glass table, his palms flat, his pulse steady only because he forced it to be. Across from him, Victoria Crane adjusted her pearl cuff and leaned forward, her voice smooth as syrup but sharp enough to cut steel. For the good of the company, she began, we propose an interim leadership transition. The screen behind her flicked on. A still shot of Noah at the bistro leaning toward Lila, candlelight blurring their faces. Beneath it, In bold font, brand risk. Gasps around the table. One director coughed into his fist. Victoria pressed the clicker again. Another slide. Internal review finds anomalous wellness payments signed by CEO Reyes. Line items filled the projection. Numbers Noah knew were forged. He straightened. Those signatures aren't mine. Metadata doesn't lie. The vendor shells tied to those payments, Northlight, Suntrench, were set up by insiders. Chain of custody proves it. A pause. Then Victoria's lips curled into a smile. Your technical literacy is commendable, but this isn't about metadata. This is about trust. Her eyes swept the room like a queen surveying pawns. The shareholders require stability. Noah caught CFO Arjun's eyes. The man shifted in his seat, gaze flicking toward the door as if escape was more attractive than loyalty. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Zora. He glanced discreetly. Text. The drive has audio. You're going to want this. Seconds later, another ting. A forwarded file. He slid his thumb across the screen and pressed play just low enough for his ears. The voice that filled it made his blood run cold. Victoria herself, in a 2018 Compensation Committee meeting. Wellness is a friendly bucket. The public loves it. Sign for Noah. Noah's jaw clenched. He looked up. Play this file live, right now. The general counsel shook his head firmly. On advice of counsel, we cannot admit unverified audio. It's her voice, Noah snapped. You all hear it. Don't pretend you don't. But the chair leaned forward, steepling his fingers. It could be doctored. Deepfakes are a danger. The vote was called anyway. 5 hands for removal. 5 against. The tie hung heavy in the sterile air. We will delay the decision, the chair said finally, to consider optics. Victoria smiled as if she had won anyway. Noah gathered his papers, forcing his face into calm, and stepped out. The hallway smelled faintly of polish and ambition, the same halls where he had once built his career brick by brick. Now Cal leaned against the wall, holding a paper cup of coffee like it was theater. You don't look surprised, Noah said flatly. Cal smirked. I told you, leverage photos, dirt. It wasn't supposed to be you. Victoria wanted a headline, not a scandal, but hey, wrong guy, right candlelight. His grin was venom. Noah's phone buzzed again. This time it was Lila's. She showed him the screen when he returned downstairs. A calendar invite. Title, Tonight. Bring the drives. Alone. Her hands shook as she held it. The trap had just widened its jaws. The night carried a weight that pressed against Noah's chest. He stood in the cramped kitchen of his apartment, phone buzzing with reminders he couldn't silence. Across from him, Lila tied her hair back, slipping into a faded hoodie like armor. Don't go, Noah said, voice rough. This is exactly what they want. Bait. Her eyes were steady, more steel than fear. I won't be hunted forever, Noah. Hiding isn't living. He wanted to argue, but Leo's drawing of a paper boat on the fridge pulled him quiet. He remembered the words scrawled under it. Keep home safe. They built the plan in whispers. Zora would wear Lila's scarf, sling a decoy bag over her shoulder, and move through the hotel bar where men in suits watched everything but pretended not to. Noah would shadow from the edges, blending into the crowd. Leo and Max would stay, with Ms. Gupta under the cover of a movie night, popcorn bowls stacked high, the boys giggling as if danger weren't outside the door. The switch was set. At 9:02, the hotel bar hummed with clinking glasses and forced laughter. Zora, scarf knotted at her throat, walked with purpose toward the elevator. Noah spotted him, a man with the practiced calm of a professional tale, following her steps with eyes that gave nothing away. In the same breath, Lila slipped out aside. Entrance, hoodie up, sneakers soft against linoleum. She pushed through service corridors, the hum of old freezers echoing like a pulse. The tenant advocate suite waited at the end of the hall. She eased the door open. Empty. A white noise. Machine buzzed in the corner, masking silence. On the desk sat a small recorder, red light blinking. Her heart jumped. A shadow moved. She spun. Arjun, the CFO. His tie was loose, his face drawn as if sleep had abandoned him weeks ago. "I signed things," he rasped, voice cracking. "I thought it was smoothing quarter end. Numbers, just numbers." Then the trusts appeared. Transfers. Your mother tried to file a complaint. Halcyon HR shut her out, paid her to forget. Lila's stomach clenched. She stepped back, but he held out a brass key, shaking. "Records. Sub-basement. They'll erase it all at midnight." His eyes darted to the hallway. "You didn't see me." Then he fled, leaving the air colder than before. Meanwhile, Noah moved fast down another corridor. He cornered the tail, windbreaker. The man smirked, leaning like the game was his. "I only chase what the board pays me to chase," he said. "Tonight it was your ghost. Tomorrow? Who knows?" Noah's fists itched, but he held still. Behind his back, his phone buzzed. A text. From Zora. "I'm clear." Relief cracked through, but only for a second, because then Lila's phone lit up. Max's name. She answered to sobs. "There's a man at the door," Max choked. "Leo says don't open. He's trying the handle." The line crackled. Max's breathing ragged. Noah froze in place. The plan had just collapsed where it mattered most, home. The city blurred through the windshield, lights smearing into streaks of urgency. Noah gripped the wheel tighter than he meant to, jaw locked, every breath measured. Beside him, Lila's phone was a lifeline and a curse. Zora on speaker with clipped words. "I've got 911 on the line. Neighbor Dad's already heading up. Hold on." Inside the apartment, Leo pressed his forehead to the door, listening to the scrape of metal outside. Max's eyes were wide, his fists clutching the promise list like it was scripture. Leo whispered, "Number 3. Keep home safe." He turned the deadbolt with careful fingers, then grabbed the remote and blasted cartoons so the silence couldn't eat them alive. Through the peephole, a man in a delivery cap, a legal envelope tucked under his arm. Harmless. Or staged. Max tugged Leo's sleeve. Leo stood taller. The hallway echoed with another sound, heels quick and certain. Ms. Rivera from 3B appeared, grocery bag on her hip, voice pitched louder than usual. "Do you boys need help?" she asked, staring down the delivery man. He froze, weighed his odds, then pivoted without a word. The elevator dinged. Gone. False alarm? Maybe. Minutes later, the boys jumped as the lock rattled. The super's key slid into the bottom latch. His text buzzed Ms. Rivera's phone. "Noise complaints. Just checking." Leo's heart hammered. He shoved Max behind the couch. The latch lifted. Then a heavy voice. "Hey!" The neighbor Dad barreled down the hall. Silence snapped back. The latch clicked shut. The man was gone. Police came. Took a report. Shrugged at frightened children, left. When Noah finally shoved the door open, his hands shook so hard he almost dropped his own keys. He pulled Leo close, chest heaving. "Breathe with me," he whispered. "In, out." Leo matched him, and the tremors eased. Lila gathered Max against her shoulder. Her phone lit with Arjun's number. She typed fast, "We need that sub-basement. Now." The clock marched toward midnight. They left the boys with Ms. Rivera, cartoons still loud. Noah and Lila moved like shadows through Halcyon's underground garage. The gate loomed, scanners blinking. Red Noah swiped his badge. Access denied. Lila slid her mother's faded badge into a cracked sleeve. Denied. Then Arjun's key card, metal against metal. The gate groaned open. The air downstairs was freezer cold. Machines hummed like giant lungs. Rows of tape robots blinked with steady rhythm. A lone IT contractor hunched at a console, lines of code racing across his monitor. Noah scanned fast. Purge scripts, midnight timestamp. He hit the flood sensor switch, pipes groaned, alarms wailed. "Leak in Sector 2, Noah barked. The contractor cursed and jumped to grab tools. Lila slipped past him, yanking the breaker. The room darkened. Hum staggered. Zora's voice crackled over comms. Backup routed. Clone running. On the rack, a red light began to blink. Faster, urgent footsteps thundered down the concrete stairwell. The contractor lifted his phone. "They're here." And then the sound that made Noah's skin crawl. Heels, precise and deliberate. Victoria Crane stepped into the glow, calm as a judge, smile sharp as glass. "You really thought you could out-admin me?" she said, voice silk wrapped around. Knives. The red light blinked faster. Midnight was seconds away. Water hammered the servers like rain on tin roofs, alarms wailing through the sub-basement as red strobes painted the walls. Victoria Crane stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 guards, her composure ironclad even as her silk blouse darkened with mist. Noah straightened, dripping, voice steady. "We record this. Agreed?" Victoria's chin tilted, arrogance sharpened, into certainty. "By all means. History belongs to the victors." The phone camera light blinked red. Lila's voice carried through the spray. Low. Controlled. "My mother's name is in your grievance log. She worked nights. She died after a safety incident. You paid her $4,200 to disappear." Victoria's eyes flicked just once. Then the smile returned, crisp and lethal. "Emotion," she said, "is not evidence." From the shadows, Zora tapped her phone. Audio filled the room, tinny but clear. Victoria's voice in 2018. "Wellness is a friendly bucket. The public loves it. Sign for Noah." The guards exchanged glances. One lowered his radio. Victoria laughed, sharp. "Deepfakes are cheap. You think you can frighten a board with toys?" Another voice cut in. Arjun, the CFO, stepped forward, eyes rimmed red. His suit was soaked, his hands trembling, but his words landed like hammers. "It's real. I was there." He placed his phone on the table. Hit play. The audio was newer, 2021. Victoria's clipped tone filled the basement. "Route through Northlight. Use wellness as cover. The press never reads line items." Silence snapped across the room. The second guard shifted his stance, weapon lowering an inch. Noah acted. He reached for the emergency switch, the one Halcyon engineers used during drills. The sprinklers surged harder, water drowning the purge scripts mid-run, sparks hissing from power strips. The contractor swore and bolted. Lila lunged for the cloned drive, yanking it from the rack. Zora jammed it into a dry bag, sealing truth in plastic. Victoria's mask cracked, her voice sharpened into threat. "Custody," she hissed. "I filed a concern with CPS, your lifestyle, your negligence. A caseworker will love this footage." For a beat, Noah froze. The weight of fatherhood pressed like lead. He saw Leo's small chest rise and fall, inhaler clutched between fingers. But then the promise list lit in his mind. 3 lines scratched in crayon. Breathe. Tell the truth. Keep home safe. His spine straightened, his jaw locked. He stepped. Between Lila and the guards, arms spread. "If you move," he said, pointing at Zora's phone and the ceiling's blinking red light. "It's on camera. Every second." Victoria's eyes narrowed, calculating. "Then," she smiled, the kind that cuts throats. "Then let's negotiate." The alarms shrieked, water pooling at their ankles. The cloned drive thudded against Lila's chest, and then Noah's phone buzzed, cutting through the chaos. "Unknown number," he answered, voice rough. "This is Child Protective Services," a deputy said. "We received an urgent overnight complaint. A caseworker will visit at 7 a.m. 2:11 a.m. The countdown had begun. Dawn bled into the blinds, a thin gray, that made the coffee on Noah's table taste like mud. He buttoned his shirt with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, not from fear of the boardroom but from the courthouse waiting 2 miles away. Emergency docket. Family court. The phrase itself felt like a verdict. By 9 a.m., the courtroom was packed with whispers. Victoria's counsel rose first, voice dripping practiced concern. "Your Honor, Mr. Reyes is distracted, reckless. We submit evidence of late-night excursions, questionable companionship, and exposure of minors to instability. Onto the screen went grainy stills. Noah at the bistro with Lila, the midnight garage clip with sprinklers pouring down, his face lit red by alarms. Lila sat 2 benches behind, Max's hand in hers. She'd tucked the boys' drawings into a folder, hoping they'd matter. Then Zora stood, hand raised for oath, her tone clipped but sure. She described the cache of drives, the spreadsheets, the audio, fraudulent wellness funds routed to directors' families. The judge leaned forward. Next came Arjun. His voice cracked, but his words cut clean. I signed what I thought were quarter-end adjustments. Victoria. Crane ordered the shells. I buried my guilt in compliance memos. I'm here because I don't want another parent's kids dragged into leverage. The judge exhaled through her nose. Then she looked at the folder Lila carried. Lila rose, opened it and spread the drawings on the bench. Paper boats, one scrawled with Max's careful letters. We are safe. The room stilled. Noah stood last. He didn't mention market caps or shareholder value. He spoke of mornings counting breaths with Leo. Through an inhaler of the promise list taped to their fridge in crayon. I can lose my title, he said quietly. But I can't lose my son's mornings. The judge tapped her pen. Removal is delayed. Home visit. Follow up next week. And I will note my concern at the weaponization of child protective services. In this matter, it wasn't victory, but it was breath. Outside, cameras swarmed. Reporters fired questions like rubber bullets. Lila stepped forward, shielding Max, her jaw set. Noah felt the urge to surrender, resign, starve the scandal of oxygen. What was a CEO's seat compared to a boy's lungs? Back at Halcyon's lobby, employees crowded around a live stream. Some clapped, some didn't look up. A custodian slipped Noah a folded note as he passed the desk. She was one of us. The locker number led him down to a forgotten bank of steel doors. Inside, a bundle of old grievance forms, ink faded but names clear. Workers, mothers, people with hands like Lila's mother's hands. Zora scanned them on the spot, firing off a public records request. Minutes later, an investigator wrote back, Received. We'll open a file immediately. That afternoon, Noah's phone buzzed with private calls. 2 directors, cautious but breaking ranks, promised to support a special committee. The board was fracturing. Cal, the friend who had started this chain of dominoes, had gone silent, until evening when a new email landed. Anonymous sender. Subject, confession. Attached was a shaky video. Cal, drunk, grinning, slurred into the camera. The photo was my idea. Victoria just scaled it. The play button hovered like a blade. The boardroom was a theater of exhaustion. Legal pads filled with scribbles, directors hunched in tailored suits, and coffee cups gone cold. The air smelled of ink and stale nerves. At 8:57 a.m., Zora dropped the Cal video into every shareholder inbox. By 9 a.m., phones around the table buzzed and shareholders began dialing in, their voices sharp through speaker systems. The footage was damning. Cal, drunk, laughing into a phone camera. The photo was my idea. Victoria just scaled it. The room shifted before the meeting even began. Victoria Crane, immovable in her navy suit, cleared her throat. This is the work of rogue staff, bad judgment, poor boundaries. I, too, am a victim of mismanagement. But her voice was too smooth, the timing too rehearsed. Arjun, pale but steady, laid down a folder. Term sheets. Victoria's family trust receiving funds directly from Northlight vendors. His finger tapped signatures. This wasn't rogue staff, it was engineered. Noah stayed silent until the hum of tension peaked. Then he stood, palms flat on the polished wood. I'm announcing a voluntary temporary leave. The committee will proceed without interference. Effective immediately, I nominate an independent chair. The words cut clean. The narrative of a power-clinging CEO dissolved in the same breath. The directors blinked, recalibrating. Shareholders on the line murmured. And one more thing, Noah added. He slid a single sheet across. The table, Whistleblower Restoration Fund. Back pay for anyone silenced or settled. No more hush money. We acknowledge and repair. It wasn't just strategy. It was decency weaponized, the kind of move that made people want to choose a side, the better side. A door opened. Lila entered, not in a suit, but in plain clothes, invited as a witness. She carried nothing but a folded grocery receipt. My mother's letter, she said softly, told me to build a life that can't be bought. This company can be won. For a moment silence ruled. Then heads nodded, small at first, then sure. Even lawyers stopped scribbling. The weight shifted. The vote was called. Hands raised. Victoria removed as chair. A shareholder representative confirmed the tally out loud, decisive. The room exhaled. By noon, the state attorney general's office had sent a formal request for a meeting. By 12:15, Cal's termination letter was issued for cause, stripped of stock options. Compliance, once Victoria's shadow domain, was reassigned. To a new director pulled from outside Halcyon entirely. The empire bent. But it hadn't broken. That night, Noah climbed to the roof with Leo. The city's lights bled into the horizon, drowning the sky. He pointed anyway. The stars are still there, he said, even when you can't see them. Leo, holding a pen, scribbled onto the crumpled promise list. A new line beneath the others. 4. Show up. He grinned at his father. You did. For a fleeting moment, the air felt lighter. Then Noah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. No name, only a signature he knew too well. You forgot about me. I didn't forget about you. Windbreaker. The rooftop breeze turned colder. The parking structure was nearly empty, lights buzzing overhead, the kind of place where echoes could fool you into thinking you weren't alone. Noah had just locked his car when a voice stepped out, of the shadows. Windbreaker. The same cheap jacket, the same predator's patience. Pay me, he said, calm as if ordering lunch, or the kids won't sleep easy. Noah froze, blood going cold, every instinct screaming not to show fear. Behind him, a footstep, then another. For a heartbeat, he thought he'd walked into a trap he couldn't fight. But then Zora emerged. From the stairwell, her phone in hand, camera light off, mic hot. Heard every word, she said. Windbreaker smirked, unbothered. You think that matters? Screens can vanish. Files can vanish. Not this one, Zora answered, her tone sharp. Another pair of figures appeared. Arjun's security detail now flipped to Noah's side. They didn't shout. They didn't posture. They just boxed him in, the hum of radios clicking alive. Windbreaker's smirk thinned when the cuffs snapped on. The bargain dissolved, not with a fight, but with a hollow look in his eyes that said, the empire of intimidation was done. Noah didn't watch him dragged out. He exhaled once, turned, and walked away. Some ghosts didn't deserve the weight of his eyes anymore. That evening, Noah climbed the stairs to Lila and Max's new apartment. No evictions taped to the door, no shadows in the hall. A modest place, but secure, subsidized under Halcyon's newly announced program, affordable homes for hourly staff. Reporters cornered him outside, microphones thrust forward. Isn't this just PR to cover scandal? Noah didn't flinch. No, it's overdue, he said, plain and steady. Inside, the apartment smelled of dinner, rice steaming, vegetables crackling in a pan. Max and Leo sat cross-legged on the floor, arguing over whose paper boat would last longer in the sink. Their laughter spilled into the air like it belonged there. Weeks later, Noah only rotated back as CEO after the independent committee's findings were published. The report, name names, Victoria stripped, Cal disgraced, procurement reforms locked in, a red team audit installed to check every wellness line item. It wasn't clean victory, but it was survival turned into foundation. Lila, meanwhile, had begun something of her own. A foundation in her mother's name, funding legal aid for service. Workers, custodians, housekeepers, the invisible backbone of towers like Halcyon. Their relationship stayed slow, intentional. No secrets. Just mornings where Max and Leo bickered over who folded the better paper boat, and breakfasts where silence was comfort, not threat. At a small ceremony, old custodians gathered. They pinned Lila's mother's faded badge into a shadow box on a wall labeled "Built by." Noah spoke last, no polish, no script. "We will not buy silence," he said. "We will buy time for each other, to breathe." Later, by the fountain, Lila unfolded her mother's grocery receipt, smoothing it flat. Under the scrawl, "Build a life that can't be bought," she wrote a single word. Kept. Noah, watching Leo chase Max across the plaza, added a new line silently to their promise list. Build with people who show up. They set their paper boats on the fountain water, fragile and stubborn, drifting together. Then, a new ripple. A quiet email from the state attorney general. "We're opening an investigation, keep your phones on." And on Lila's screen, a contact request appeared. Graham, custodial 2009, a survivor, a witness. The next tide was already rolling in.